In this video, we'll talk about parabolas. Parabolas, or a parabola, is the set of points in a plane that are equidistant from a fixed point f, called focus. So I'm going to place the focus point here. And a fixed line called the directrix. Let's draw the directrix here. So those are like this distance here, this point, the distance from the origin to F is equal to the distance to this point. So if we call, let's say F is the coordinate 0p, this point here is going to be 0, negative p. So this directrix, we are going to say it's a line y equals negative p. Now another point, let's say this point, this distance has to be equal to this distance. Another point would be this distance equal to this distance. So the graph that it's produced by having this distance, let's say p of coordinates x, y, the distance from p to f is equal to the distance from p to q, where q is on the directrix. So pf, using the distance formula, is going to be square root of y minus p squared plus x squared. The distance pq is, let's say q is of coordinates x negative p, so it's going to be x minus x, that's 0, and then y plus p squared. So y squared, if we square both sides and then we square y minus p squared, we compute that, y squared minus 2yp plus p squared plus x squared equals y squared plus 2yp plus p squared. P squared cancels with p squared, y squared with y squared. We move this one on this side, so we end up with x squared. It's 4 py, and this would be the equation of a parabola. That's the equation of the parabola where p is greater than 0. So for the graph that I just drew, the parabola looks like this for p greater than 0. Now if p is less than 0, the parabola would look like this. If we are looking at the equation y squared equals 4px, if p is greater than 0, the graph that we are looking for would be this, shaped this way. And if p is less than 0, the opening would be to the left. So we ended up with the equation of the parabola written in these two forms. So let's try to solve the first problem. It says, find the focus, so this would be the focus, right? And this would be the directrix of the parabola with the equation 2x squared plus 2y equals 0. So in other words, x squared equals negative y. But let's not forget that the equation in general looks x squared equals 4py. So if we equate this equals this, and y equals y, so whatever is left must be equal to each other. So then we get 4p equals negative 1, which means p equals negative 1 over 4. So because e is less than 0, then we expect the graph to look like this. So the focus, or let me quickly sketch it. So is going to be from the origin going down. So then this would be the directrix, right? So y equals 1/4. And then the focus would be this point here, where the focus would be of coordinates 0, negative 1/4. Let's solve another problem. Find the equation of a parabola with vertex v, 0, 0. The directrix is 18 So this would be the directrix. And it opens to the left. So from the origin, it opens to the left. And we want to find the equation of the parabola. Well, obviously, the focus is going to be of coordinates -18, 0. Right? So what does that mean? It means we are looking at an equation of the form y squared equals 4px. Because it opens to the left, p is negative. But the directrix being x equals 18, then that gives us that p equals -18. So y squared equals 4 times -18x. So y squared equals -72x. And this would be the equation of the parabola with this given data. And finally, determine whether the equation x squared equals 12y describes a parabola, ellipse, or a hyperbola, and then sketch the graph of the curve. For each parabola, specify the focus and the equation of the directrix. So let's start with the equation. So x squared equals 12y. We know that this is the equation of a parabola, but in general, it's x squared equals 4py. So if we equate these two, we get 4p equals 12, which means p equals 3. It's positive, so that means the parabola is going to open up this way. So let's sketch the graph. So the coordinate plane is here. I'm going to give values. So let's make a table, x and y. So we are trying to graph x squared equals 12y. So if x is 0 or y is 0, x is 0. So it's centered at the origin. Now if y is 3, we get x squared equals 36, which makes x equals plus minus 6. So we get -6 and 6 both produce 3. So -6, it's here, gives us 3. Origin, it's a point on the graph, and the opposite, 6, 3. So if we connect the points, we get the graph of the parabola, which is opening up. So now, if we want to find the focus, so f, it's of coordinates 0p. So in this case, f, it's of coordinates 0, 3. So this would be the focus point. And the directrix is the line y equals -p. So in other words, the opposite, -3, and the line passing through that is the directrix. I hope it helps.